shifts us from 10 years in the country to wait for a decision to less than 3 months for that. Makes a significant difference in the way we handle asylum from day to day on the decision making. For years, there have been loopholes that have been exploited in our asylum laws. This closes those loopholes so we can identify faster legitimate asylum seekers and to be able to filter out folks that are just gaming the system so we can quickly deport them. It increases deportation flights, increases detention, rapidly changes the way that we actually do our hearings and our screenings, so it doesn't take 10 years as it does now. It takes weeks to months so that we can turn people around faster. If you don't have rapid consequences, you don't have consequences at all. So it changes those consequences, as well as building more border wall, putting in more infrastructure, so that we're doing not only infrastructure, but a change in policy.
And, I guess the million-dollar question, how is this going to do? Is it going to pass?
Yeah, hard to be able to tell. People have had about 24 hours to be able to take a look at it. Some people are looking at it and saying, hey, there's more I wanted in it. I get that. This is a Republican House, Democrat Senate, and a Democrat White House. So this is a negotiated solution to try to figure out how much can we get done, and then let's do those things. So people right now are trying to evaluate, is this enough that I can actually support this, or do I want to say, I got to have a whole lot more, or I'm not going to support it at all?
And how helpful is Trump been?
I mean, obviously he has a task that he's trying to accomplish. President Trump is running for president. That's his focus. My task is actually, I'm in the United States Senate right now on the Homeland Security Committee dealing with border management. That's my task and my job. So my focus is on national security right now. And so I'm going to stay focused on that. He's going to stay focused on his task. But I would say if he was president right now, we would not have had 8 million people illegally crossing our border. We saw how he managed the border in the 4 years he was in the White House. It would be very different in the last 3 than what we've had. But my focus is, what can we do right now, regardless of who's president now, 4 years from now, or 10 years from now? What can we do to be able to fix problems in the law to be able to make sure long-term we have a better border? In war breaking out around the world, and some of those individuals are mad at the United States of America.
Well, I think this country is crying out for the parties to stop fighting over immigration and just get something done that's going to better control the border and fix our broken immigration system. We have a compromise that does that, and I believe that we can pass it through the Senate. It's not going to be easy because it's going to be one of these old-fashioned compromises where some Democrats vote against it and some Republicans vote against it. But it does some common sense things. It takes our broken asylum system, where right now it takes 10 years to get an asylum claim processed, and takes that down to 6 months. It gives the president the power to shut down the border in between the ports of entry when crossings get too high, to make sure that we're better managing the number of people who come across the border. It helps our cities and our mayors by giving these migrants work permits when they get to the United States, so they don't end up in our homeless shelters and on our streets. It's a true bipartisan compromise. It has things that are priorities for conservatives. It has things that are priorities for progressives. And I still believe that there's a path to get this done in the Senate this week.
And how helpful has former President Trump been to this?
Well, President Trump has made it perfectly clear that he does not want any bipartisan solution to the border, that he wants the border to remain chaotic because he thinks it helps him politically. I know there are some Republicans who are listening to President Trump, but I think there are a lot of Republicans in the Senate who are going to choose to do the right thing, the thing that's good for the country, and that is pass a historic landmark bipartisan agreement that funds Ukraine, that funds Israel, and that gives us some solutions to what's broken on our border.
And when, in this day and age, Democrats and Republicans can agree on something, usually you'd think it would pass.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big deal to get, Republican and Democratic agreement on the border. It tends to happen only once every decade, and I would hope that people wouldn't waste this opportunity to make some important reforms that better controls the flow of people into this country so that we don't have chaos, but also doesn't cut off the ability of somebody to come to this country and legitimately apply for asylum if they're fleeing torture or violence. That's an important part of our legacy as a country and something that we should preserve.